y'all don't really want it like here comes the, here comes the, here comes the, y'all don't really want it like here comes the, here comes the, here comes the, y'all don't really want it like here comes the, here comes the, here comes the, y'all don't really want it like here comes the, here comes the, here comes the, y'all don't really want it like here comes the, here comes the, here comes the, y'all don't really want it like here comes the, here comes the, here comes the, y'all don't really want it like here comes the, here comes the, here comes the, here comes the. You ain't built for a skirt as a nigga can be. It's what sound like when I'm coming, like when I'm coming, like when I'm coming for ya. It's what sound like when I'm coming, like when I'm coming, like when I come for ya. It's what sound like. Here comes the, here comes the, here comes the, here comes the. Y'all don't really worry like that.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Sunday. It is Wildcard Sunday. Excited to have you guys with us right here on the Betting News Network. This is the Gridiron Gang. Stoked to have you guys here on this beautiful Sunday. That is Trizzy Betts. That is V Sauce. And that is Just Sook. My name is Sweatpants Jesus. Stoked to have you guys with us to talk all about the beautiful NFL slate in front of us. Boys, the playoffs are here. Vibes are high. We had a fantastic slate yesterday. 2 games on the docket. We'll talk about those, kind of give our reactions to those a little bit, and then we will dive into the 3-game slate we have in front of us today. 3 games all day. Sit back. 7 hours of commercial-free football. Well, not really, but 7 hours of football at least. Better than nothing. Boys, how we living? You guys ready to rock and roll?
So good. I was gonna say you can't say
Don't all talk at once.
without
know,
Twitter.
and
The guy that talks is underwater. That was great.
Yeah.
Good job, boys. Great way to start the
it's
day.
all right. Big vibes. Big vibes. Chad's got the vibes. That's what's going on.
At least the
let's
guy
get this-
underwater's tried to speak. Everybody else is
Yeah.
staying quiet.
Yeah, fair enough. He's got his all sauce hat on. He's ready to rock and roll. Vsauce chat might be a little bit unhinged today because obviously he's got his Packers today. Hopefully the cheese is not moldy. We'll talk
I'm not
about all.
okay. What?
We'll talk about all 3 games today. We're going to go game by game as we normally do on the show. But we only got 4 games to talk about, so it's probably not going to be as long of a Gridiron Gang as per usual, but we end up gabbing, and we know how things go. So we'll see how it goes. We got plays in each individual game. We'll get to them. We'll bring up outlier.bet for you guys so we can kind of look at the live lines of what's happening, talk about some props, talk about lines in each individual game. Sook's team is also playing today. Trizzy and I's team suck ass, so they're not even close to playing today. But we do have some news in regards to excuse me, in regards to Trizzy's team, I'm allergic to this news because I'm allergic to the Titans bullshit right now. However, if you guys just saw this, it just dropped on the timeline literally right before we started the show. So we'll talk about it right now. Mike Vrabel has been signed by the New England Patriots. Mike Vrabel is the new head coach for his former team, a Hall of Fame member of the New England Patriots. It makes a whole bunch of sense. Trizzy, as a fan of this team, how excited are you to have Vrabes in the building?
I love it, man. I love it. He's a leader of football players, man. I think he's going to bring a great presence to that locker room. I think they're going to be able to actually entice a few veteran free agents now. We've always had to overpay anyway because it's Massachusetts. So one contract in the South is not the same contract up here. So I think it should be great. I love this. I need this in my life. I don't think they should get rid of Van Pelt. Van Pelt's a great asset. I don't think he's an offensive coordinator. I think that offense needs some life. I think that offense needs some creative direction, and I think McDaniels does that. McDaniels as well. McDaniels is a great choice too because he's had 2 head coaching stints in the NFL. They both didn't work out. So if you bring him in as your offensive coordinator, you know he's going to be here for a few years, at least 5. Not many teams are going to give him a chance that quickly, and then build the chemistry with May because that's your franchise quarterback. Hopefully get that ball moving.
Yeah. I see. So Ben Johnson is obviously going to be a big hire in the offseason. A lot of other head coach vacancies are going to be looking to fill with Ben Johnson. But in my opinion, in this situation, as a person who was watched by Vrabel head coach your team, took him to the AFC Championship game, was a competitor for this squad. It obviously didn't go at the end the way that a lot of Titans fans wanted it, and I was pretty surprised when Mike Vrabel got fired. But I would rather have a guy who's been there, done that in this situation, and a leader of men versus somebody in Ben Johnson who's never coached before in his life. Like, he has not been a head coach, and offensive coordinating versus head coaching is completely different. I mean, Vsauce knows this with Matt LaFleur. Obviously, Matt LaFleur made the transition and it worked out, but a lot of offensive coordinators make the transition to be a head coach, and it just doesn't fit correctly because being a head coach is not being an offensive coordinator. You have to lead your entire unit. You have to lead men, and there's different ways that different franchises do it, but Vrabel's done it, and he can prove that he can do it, whereas Ben Johnson, he's a hot hire, and he's going to get a head coaching job this offseason. We don't know what that's going to look like, so I think that this is a fantastic hire. I love Mike Vrabel. I liked Mike Vrabel when he was in Tennessee. I think that this fits perfectly with the transition on what they're trying to accomplish moving forward. Like you said, he's the perfect foundation builder for building up Drake May. He's going to bring in like a Josh McDaniels we were talking about before we started too. Vrabel has a lot of pull with former players and current players, which is going to help entice some bigger name free agents to want to come and play in New England, which is, I think if you get any other head coach, maybe besides Ben Johnson, you're not going to have the same pull. So I think it's an A-plus hire. It makes a whole bunch of sense. Not surprised that it was the first one off the docket. They wanted to go ahead and snag him up now. So
yeah, I agree. The other thing as well is with Johnson, you have to wait for them to be done with the playoffs. And I think they wanted to get this done now. They wanted to get some change in that building. I know the season ended, but we didn't have the greatest season. So they want to get this ball rolling. They want to get some change in this building.
And signing the hot offensive coordinator isn't always the move. I mean, the Bucs are facing it with Cohen right now. If he's going to be elevated to head coach or if he's going to leave the team next year, it's just historically we've seen it happen time and time again. It's not always the move, especially for the Patriots. Like you guys have said, they have some pieces. They might be a little bit far past hiring a first-time head coach again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and as Gerald said, sorry, just before you start, as Gerald said in the chat, we couldn't take another chance on a first-time head coach. You got to bring somebody in that he at least has some continuity. Because as you know, we saw what happened with Mayo, how that went. If you wanted to just kind of roll with Mayo again, fine. But I think they needed to bring in somebody who has some experience and brings a little oomph to the situation versus, as you said, somebody new. What are you going to say, V?
I feel like just to play the other side of the coin here, I feel like, I know there's transitions where it doesn't work out, but there's countless where it does, right? Like you got Shanahan in San Francisco, LaFleur, you got we got O'Connor in Minnesota, right? Like there's a lot of situations in which it does work. Even Dan Campbell, I know he's not like a offensive coordinator, but he played offense in his career. He was a tight end, if I'm not mistaken. correct?
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
And I just feel like, I know the Patriots got their guy, but do you guys feel like there's a little bit of maybe they rushed their decision? Like they didn't take the interview process as seriously as they should have. You've got even a guy like Aaron Glenn, who's the defensive coordinator for the Lions, who refused the interview with the Patriots because it feels like the job was just already kind of decided. Like there was no full search, there was not a lengthy interview process, there was none of that kind of stuff. And when you have a QB like Drake May, I don't think an offensive mind would be your worst enemy in this situation.
I mean, Vrabel, he had 3 Super Bowls with us. He was a part of like 5 or 6 of some of the best teams we've ever had. He's in the Patriots Hall of Fame. He's got a great relationship with Kraft already. If you're Robert Kraft and you have to pay a coach $15 million a year for the next 4 years, how do you not sign that guy? How do you let that guy walk out of your building twice? You know what I mean? Say what you want about Mayo. I guess, they're making kind of the same decision again. Say what you want about Mayo, but Mayo only had 1 Super Bowl under his belt. Like Mayo was never really the team captain, the team leader. Vrabel was always that. Vrabel was a dog. Vrabel's proven he's a leader around the NFL. Those Titan teams were great teams. And I don't think last year him not being a head coach was more so a sentiment of how the league feels around him. I more so think he wanted to learn more about the offensive side of the ball. You saw him go to the Browns. He started working with the tight ends. He worked a little bit with the linemen. I just think he wanted to learn more offensive and add that to his like repertoire. He's always been a defensive guy. I think he has like 8 touchdowns. I remember him catching a few touchdowns in a couple of Super Bowls too as a tight end. We'd check him in.
He's got 8 catches, and every single reception of his is a touchdown. Every single one.
And like 6 of them are in like playoff games or the Super Bowls.
The NFL's Robert Horry, eh?
Regardless of him as a player, he's proven that he can lead men in the NFL and he can produce a good product. I don't think they're done. Like I was saying, it's up to Kraft. He's got to bring the offensive guy in. They must see that, he's got to do something over there. Either that or just sign the whole lot and draft all offensive. Maybe that'll do it, but I still think you need the creative mind.
And we've got time before the game starts, chat. That's why we're kind of gabbing about this. But it's also important. I know we're going to talk about the bets for today. Like, we're going to get to that. But it's also important to talk about just kind of what's happening in the league in general and also kind of gab about what's going on with these teams, because that helps you with your betting angles. Like, these are the important types of things. And we just like talking ball. I think that this is just a theory, and I don't know if this is true or not for sure, but I'm sure you guys have seen the news about Dion possibly going to the Raiders. The Raiders being pretty interested with bringing Dion to the Raiders, possibly then Shador following him. Tom Brady, putting his stamp on this particular franchise. And this is just me tinfoil hatting. I don't know if this is true or not, but maybe this news coming out over the last 48 hours like made the Patriots go, you know what? Let's just get the guy. Let's just get this done, get it out of the way. We don't want to talk about it anymore. Finish it off, and then everyone else can just scramble to find whoever they want in the building. And there's something to be said about just getting the dude that that you feel. It's like in baseball. You don't always have to hit home runs. Like, you can hit doubles and still score and win. Like, I feel like this was a great double, situation.
Yeah, I think it was a key point as well. Like, typically, when you're hiring a head coach, you bring them into the facility, you have them in the offices, you show them around the fields, X, Y, and Z. Vrabel already knew all of those things, so Kraft hosted him at his Boston home. I think that kind of explains the relationship there a little bit. You know what I mean? He had him at his personal house for dinner. You know what I mean? Like his own home. So I don't know. I think the relationship was probably too strong. It was probably his job always. But again, they let Vrabel walk once. They could have hired him last year. They gave the job to Mayo instead. I didn't think there's no way they let him walk out of the building twice. And after the Jets interview, you don't want to snub him and then play against him for 12 years. That's for sure. That's for damn sure. So,
yeah. 100%. Well, that news just came out before we got started, so we thought we'd gab about it, especially since it's Trizzy's team. And big hire. There's going to be a lot of dominoes that are going to fall in regards to this. A lot of teams that are not in current positions right now. The playoffs are looking for head coaches or general managers, etc. So we'll be talking about a lot of that stuff as we glide through the rest of the end of the NFL season. But we do have the 3 games to talk about today. We are going to also talk about the game tomorrow, even though we'll talk about it more on Betspresso tomorrow, but we will gab a little bit about that Rams Vikings game tomorrow. But we'll focus most of the time today on the 3 games in front of us. It's great to have 3 games back to back to back. Yesterday V said jokingly the show finished and we had like 3 hours until football started. So it was nice to have today where it's just going to be boom, boom, football.
You guys want to see what I did between the end of yesterday's show and the start of the game?
Paced?
Sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Just that. Well, it's because let's talk about yesterday, but then we'll dive into what we've got for today. It was always the Texans. We all kind of thought the Chargers would get the job done yesterday. Unfortunately, that was not true whatsoever. Justin Herbert threw 4 interceptions, more interceptions than he's thrown the entire season. He threw it in 1 game. I'll argue that I think that Chargers wide receiver room is a bunch of Kadarius Tonys. They could not catch a fucking beach ball yesterday. So that was unfortunate to see. But overall, takeaways from the Texans game, boys. I can't wait to fade the Texans next. I'm not going to lie. But what do you guys think? You think this team is legit, or you think they're frauds?
Someone who bet the Texans yesterday, I cannot wait to fade them next week. It doesn't even matter who they play. Like CJ Stroud did not look good, but it was like Justin Herbert out-assed him yesterday in the way
Mixon was falling all over the place too.
Yeah, the receivers are bad. The offensive line looked bad. They were both getting sacked on both sides of the ball. And outside of a few like big defensive plays from D'Amico Ryan's defense, I don't think the Texans should have been in that game whatsoever, to be honest. And I feel bad, but Herbert needs some help. They need to get him some weapons in the offseason. Otherwise, they're just wasting his time and everybody else's time.
Yep. I think that's what they do as well. I think that's all. The offensive line isn't like terrible, so to say. Herbert's mobile. He can kind of work around what they have. They have a big piece in Joe Alt that's like key right there. You could probably sign a veteran for low money. They need to get this guy some help. They need to get this guy some receivers, man. I know he threw 4 picks. He did have a bad game, but I mean, if you have better separation, he has more of a window to throw the ball into. Doesn't have to make those kind of decisions. And not only make those kind of decisions, when he is making those kind of decisions, it's not like it's an all-pro receiver trying to catch the ball. It's Quentin fucking Johnston and Will Disley.
Will Disley had just a disaster class yesterday. What a terrible.
Exactly.
I mean, good tight end, but Jesus, dude, what a terrible game that guy had.
Guys whose names.
Oh,
I'll finish V's point. I get what V's saying. It's Disley, a guy who spent time with the Seahawks, never really became an elite, like Pro Bowl kind of guy. And then you're talking about Johnson, who's had 2 big games this season, but besides that, is very pedestrian week in and week out. You're going to get 183 yards one week and then 50, 30 yards in the other weeks. It's very inconsistent. It's tough when you're Justin Herbert and you're tossing to a bunch of guys and only your rookie is consistent.
They could have really used the wide receiver that kind of had a skill set maybe similar to like a guy like Keenan Allen yesterday. That would be a cool.
That
would have worked out.
been...
It would have been nice to have somebody like that on the team yesterday.
I get it though. I get it. You got to get the money off the books. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I get it. That was a bad contract. Look what he did this year, So,
sure.
Maybe he comes back, bro. Now he's a free agent. Maybe he comes back. They sign him for cheaper money. I don't think he ever wanted to leave, really. They had to get that contract off the books. So, they're in a good spot, too, I think. They should be able to have a pretty good draft. There's some good tight ends coming out, too. Not many tight ends get drafted in the first round. You can still go out and get a receiver, a decent little tight end, whatever. Harbaugh knows what he's doing. He had a great draft last year. I have faith he's going to do it again, and they'll get this kid some toys.
We talked about this yesterday. Unfortunately, that this was a good chance for Justin Herbert to kind of further solidify himself as a true proper elite quarterback in the NFL. And the discourse is going to continue because, as they're saying in the chat, he's had these situations over the last few seasons and he's just shit the bed every single time. Yesterday, I will argue that a lot of it had to do with the talent around him versus what he actually did, but he made some mistakes too. So I think you still build around him, like you said, Triz, with this front office and Harbaugh and kind of give him a couple more solid, really good off seasons and see what you got. And otherwise, then maybe he turns into one of these quarterbacks that just didn't quite make the next step. But it was weird to see.
I mean,
the Texans never should have won that game by 25 points.
No.
Like there's no way.
No,
dude, with Staley, he was looking like a stud. We were talking about him as the top 3 quarterback in the league. That's Brandon Staley. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's got Harbaugh now. We have tough games here and there. I mean, his playoff little like stint here, the couple games he's played, doesn't have a win, but I mean, can't hold that against him. One of them, he had Brandon Staley making decisions, and you know what I mean, like playing his nuts off too. You know, but. And yesterday he's playing with nobody. It's kind of tough.
It's so just to cap that conversation, because now the Texans move on, 4 seed. And if there are no upsets today, then the Texans will go to Arrowhead and have to take on the Chiefs, which I can't wait to tell Shaggy that I'm nuking the Chiefs if that's the case. But the other game last night, it was always the Ravens, boys. The Steelers looked like they maybe would cover near the end and kind of backdoor that motherfucker, but no way. It was always Baltimore. And I said it to you guys yesterday, like at this point in the season, Derrick Henry's just a monster to deal with. If you get him going in particular situations, the Steelers looked dead from the start, which I don't know if that has to do with what Mike Tomlin's doing in that room right now or something like that, but this Ravens team, man, they look really dangerous right now. Lamar Jackson's locked in. If you can't stop the thing they did yesterday, which is why this tandem has been talked about since the offseason as such like the most dangerous tandem in the entire NFL, is because if you focus all your energy on stopping Derrick Henry, then Lamar Jackson will just dick you down. And like that's what happened in the first half of this game. Unfortunately, then Derrick Henry did his thing too. So it was just a coming from all angles situation. And if you don't stop that, you do not stop this team. So I think that this team has a legitimate chance to challenge the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl in the AFC side of things. And we saw that yesterday against the Steelers team that looked dead from the start.
Yeah, it's Chiefs all with me though, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got lots of futures. Lots of futures.
I know. I agree with you.
I won't
100%.
even entertain the idea. I won't entertain.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But like, if you had to take it out of like the one team that gives the Chiefs the biggest run for their money, right?
Yeah,
I think it's this Ravens squad.
Well, I also think this as well. Like they're on such a run right now. They're on such a high. They're dicking teams left and right. We saw how that went with the Lions. It always comes crashing down, and I feel like where it is, the point it is in the season and how long it's been going, it's starting to be like a bad thing. That bad game is going to come, and it's probably going to come in the most important game, which, as you're saying, maybe it's the AFC Championship game. Who knows? But Lamar and Henry are playing out of their heads. Like,
yeah, you're probably right, Triz. They're probably going to have the letdown spot eventually, but honestly, to me, I would be worried if I'm a Chiefs fan. That offense hasn't looked as good as it has historically. The defense has carried them. And with this Ravens team, their offense is fucking exhausting, especially when Zay Flowers comes back. You got Bateman and Flowers, who are 2 speedy guys, and then you got Jackson and Henry just running it down your throat every other possession. They're just a team that come that fourth quarter, your D-line is just fucking tired. So if I was the Chiefs, I'd be worried about the Ravens. I'd be keeping one eye on them every week until you get to the Super Bowl.
Are we forgetting about this Bills team today, though? This Bills team feels like they could give this Ravens team a run for their money, let alone the Chiefs. And they are the only team to beat both the Lions and the Bills this year, despite having lost to the Ravens.
It's interesting you say that, because I feel like that if this plays out, if all the no dogs win today, then it's going to be Bills Ravens in the divisional round, and then Texans Chiefs in the other divisional round game. And I mean, that Bills Ravens game, again, if there's no upsets today, would be just a slobber knocker. Like that game would be, I feel like that game could maybe help the Chiefs out, because then both of those teams are just going to go toe for toe with each other, and probably, I don't know if it builds momentum or if they spend too much energy winning that game, and then you kind of go and go to Arrowhead the next week and win in Arrowhead for the AFC Championship game. But that game would be a movie. And you're right, V, that you can't forget about the Bills. I think that 1-2 punch of Henry and Lamar Jackson is one of those situations right now, in a one game win and in situation. You don't want to face that right now. All right. Well, we had it was a good 2 games yesterday. We didn't quite, a lot of things we actually talked about yesterday smacked, which was great to smack some bets yesterday. We didn't really get the sides necessarily right on the money. The over was free. Triz, good stuff there in the first game. Let's dive into today. 3 games in front of us. We already kind of previewed a little bit about our thoughts on some of them, but we're going to go game by game with you guys. Sauceman, you got Outlier pulled up? You ready to rock and roll there?
Oh yeah.
Let's get it. We're going to talk about each individual game. We'll start at the beginning and go through all of it, talk about our bets, what we like. Drop what you guys like in the chat, ask some questions, get involved in the conversation. If you're watching us on Twitch, if you're watching us on YouTube, or if you're watching us on Twitter, wherever you guys are watching us, we appreciate you tapping in. Let's jump into it.
All right, boys. I feel like this game is going to be a little bit better than people are thinking, despite the large spread. We got the Denver Broncos coming into Buffalo as a 7.5-point dog, over under set at 48.5. Bo Nix and company making their playoff debut, and honestly, he's looked really, really good this season. So called it from the beginning. I was a doubter, but here we are. Bo Nix is in the playoffs, going up against Josh Allen and the Bills. We've got James Cook on this side. We've got another guy like Amari Cooper. We got Shakir. Why don't you start us off, Trizzy, and talk to us about your touchdown score and the touchdown lead we've got pending? Khalil Shakir.
So I like Shakir in the slot in this game. I'm also on the under in this game, so I don't want to talk up the offense too much, but I do like the under in this game with the hook on the backside. But I like Khalil Shakir in the slot here. You have Moss and Surtain. They both play on the outside. They'll probably both be on Cooper and Coleman in the situation. I see a lot of love for tight ends today, but I think Shakir's a guy that's gotten it done all season long. He's a guy that he's kind of a safety blanket for Allen. He knows he can kind of pump him the football here and there and just dink and dunk, get his way there. And I think if they're in the red zone and all the focus is on Cook or Coleman one-on-one ball, or even Kincaid over the middle, I think Shakir might end up finding some separation and getting in there. I do like the under for more of a play. This over is getting slammed like left like to no end. It has almost 80% of the money on DraftKings, and I just don't see it here. They're giving the hook still. The line hasn't moved at all. And in a game like this, the Broncos have typically been in high scoring games since like the first half of the season. After the first half of the season, they've kind of just like, I don't know exactly what happened. The defense is still playing well, but they've just been in more higher scoring games. The games are just going over consistently. And now that we're in the playoffs, it's a really big game. It's a really tough game. They're going to be very focused on trying to stop this offense and Josh Allen. I think they might park the bus today. Either that or maybe it's just a Bills one-sided dicking. But I like the total with the hook. Give me the under.
On that note, I hate to pitch a touchdown score or a touchdown play with you liking the under, but I took the value here. I like Bo Nix to get over 1.5 passing touchdowns. It's plus 120, which to me is very. It's too good not to take. Based on what he's been doing, as V said, over the past 6 weeks of the season, he's been cooking. Do I think that the under can still smack? Of course, he can throw 2 passing touchdowns and the under can go through. But I just think that they're going to have to put the pedal to the metal against this Bills team. They don't want to get down, and if they do get down, that helps this play even more. It's hitting 4 straight games. It's hitting 7 of his last 8 games as well. I don't see a way that this machine slows down. I mean, I feel like that the Bills are probably going to end up walking out of here with a W against this Broncos team, but we've talked about this Broncos team for the last month. They've been on fire. They've really been cooking, and I think getting plus money for Bo Nix to only throw 2 passing touchdowns in a situation where they may even be having to come back from a couple touchdown deficit. I really like the value that we're getting here on Bo Nix. I also sprinkled a little dust on 3+ for plus 500. As you can see, he's done it in 3 of his last 4 games. The value's too good for me to pass up. Maybe he has another really good game, gets a couple passing touchdowns early, and then we got to wait for one more for the plus 500. But I really like the 2+ for plus 122 for the value.
Let's go.
Yeah, I hate to disagree with Trizzy or go against him, but I was really kind of leaning the over. I hadn't gotten there and pushing the button yet, but I missed the boat on the 9.5 for the Broncos, right? The line was sitting, I think it was at 9.5, Trizzy, if I'm not wrong. It's now down to 7.5. And like I wish I had tapped in a little bit earlier, but like myself being the kind of better I am, I'm not a guy that places my bets 4 days in advance. You know what I mean? But this is a spot where I think the Broncos are going to score points, despite all the defensive stats that you see from both of these teams. Like they both rank in the top 11 on points allowed, red zone efficiency, most categories. But this Bills team has been shaky as of late. They don't have any big names on the defensive side. They just have a bunch of dogs that have been playing well over, I think, expected this year. Their head coach,
That's one.
yeah, I can't remember his name right now. Yeah, no, nope, bro. But their head coach has them playing phenomenal football on the defensive side, and I think that this Broncos team has been way better offensively than I have given them credit for. If you look at the numbers here, they're top 10 in scoring, 7th in red zone efficiency, and they do move the ball, right? They have guys like Val, they have guys like Mims Jr. who can blow the top off of a defense, and then guys like Cortland Sutton who can finish from within 20 yards. That's exactly why I'm taking Cortland Sutton to get in the end zone today. We've talked about a lot of touchdowns now. We've talked about the under, but I do think that at plus 150, a guy like Cortland Sutton, a guy that Bo Nix has been going to often, right, in this situation, I think he's going to score today. He hasn't played meaningful football since 2015. I think he was last in the playoffs. His starting quarterback at that time was, I think it was Joe Flacco. The last time that they played meaningful football. So it's been a tough ride for Cortland Sutton. He's excited to be back here in the postseason, I think. And I think that against this Buffalo team, a guy like him with his size and his his ability in the red zone, I think he's going to get in the end zone today. And they're going to look to him pretty early. Like we know that head coach Sean Payton, he's had a guy like Mike Thomas in his offense, Michael Thomas, who has been a similar type of receiver who puts up a lot of touchdowns and is a big red zone threat. It feels like Sutton's in another similar spot today, and I do think that he gets in the end zone. And I need this for the second half of my staff article this week. So
I was about to say you have extra beans on this too.
Yeah. So I really want this one to hit, but this is also one of my favorite touchdown scorers today, period.
We've talked about it since like October, that when Bo Nix really solidified himself as the starting quarterback for this team. And then from that point forward, Cortland Sutton is his number one guy from a targets perspective in the red zone as well. There is no discrepancies on who he's throwing the football to down there when he's in trouble, or even just the design plays that they have. So I like the touchdown play a lot. I hope you smack your staff article play as well. And I hope you bet it straight too, because it's nice plus money as well. We're also, boys, just to mention this too before we keep going, we cooked our touchdown parlay that we posted a couple days ago. Hope you guys rode it with us, plus 2,500. Leg one, easy money. Derrick Henry. Unfortunately, you couldn't bet it straight because it was minus 180. But 3 more legs to go, and all of them are today. So we'll talk about each individual one. But that was the first leg. So hope you guys rode it out with us too.
One other play I wanted to talk about was this guy right here, Shakir. I know that we like his touchdown a lot, and everything Trizzy said about Surtain, I think, is directly applicable to his receiving yards here. Over the last few weeks, you can see his target share has been there, but the fact is he hasn't been catching the ball. The passes haven't really been catchable with the targets he's been seeing, whether it's been PI or whatever it is. And then last week against the Jets, he just, they weren't really playing in meaningful games over the last few weeks, right? With the way that they've secured their seed in the AFC. I just think that his target share is there, and against a team that they're going to have to move the ball through the air. I think the Broncos are going to put up points. I think Shakir in the slot presents a tough matchup for this Broncos team at over 52.5. I really like this receiving yards line for Shakir.
Let's go.
I like his receptions too. I was looking at that just because of, it's a little bit higher than I was expecting based on what he's done the past 3 weeks of the season. But this Bills team didn't really play meaningful football for like 2 or 3 weeks. Like they were just kind of coasting through the last couple of games just to get through them. I like his receptions at 5.5 for plus money. I love the yards, like you mentioned, and Trizzy's all over the touchdown. We need his touchdown. So let's have Khalil just go. Let's get Tupac going crazy today. Please and thank you.
Straight up.
Yeah, for reals. Sook, what do you like in this game?
I actually took a team total prop in this one. I thought that it might get a little messy. I didn't know what could happen if this was a kind of an under game or an over game. So then I thought there was a comfy spot I could find between Cook and Allen. I took the Bills over 1.5 rushing touchdowns for the game, minus 110. I just think that the Bills have a good opportunity to win this game. And even if the Broncos do surprise the Bills, I think 2 touchdowns on the ground for the Bills is not a tough ask at all between Cook and Allen.
I love this. I I absolutely love this, especially as somebody who loves both Allen and Cook to score today and can't decide who to pick. This is better than that because they're both also juiced. I'm just gonna take this.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a slam dunk. If you have a book that you can bet this, hope you can take it because this is a great play. You can also take one of I think Josh Allen to score a rushing touchdown is also a good bet, but as Vise mentioned, it's a little juiced. And this way, if Cook does go crazy, you can just roll with that. So. Getting some love in the chat, Sook, as always. Don't sleep on Sook. Sook Money's here, and Trizzy mentioned this to us before we got started. And actually, I can't. Our buddy Parlay Patty actually DM'd this to me too, so I'll bring it up. But gives some flowers to Sick Money on this one too for bringing it to our attention before the show started. Dawson Knox, talk about Dawson Knox, Triz, why he's might be a decent touchdown play today.
So I believe every wild card game that the Bills have played in, he scored a touchdown. And I think BR Betting posted it too afterwards. I thought it was just a touchdown, but apparently he scored the first touchdown in both.
All four. I think four wild card games for the Bills.
That's wild. I hate that he Parlay Patty messaged me and said it's sad that it's gotten so public at this point because we all know what that means.
Yeah.
But it's a great find. I mean, just for him to score a touchdown is probably good value, just in case he doesn't score the first one because they, because they blew it up. But yeah, unfortunately, that also kind of fucks with your under. But I mean, it's still a high total. Like we could see a 24-21 game, and you're sweating that under, but you still get the number.
Yeah.
Does that math work out?
I think it's going to come to the number, and that's why the number hasn't moved. I wouldn't be surprised if this lands on 47.
Yeah.
And I would say even yesterday's totals, they all kind of like floated right around that one, right? Like we saw the Texans game in the first one. We barely got the over on that one. It was right at the end. And that was going into halftime 6-0 until the fucking Texans just scored 10 points in like the last, what seemed like 4 or 5 minutes of the game. And then the same thing happened in that fourth quarter. We needed 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and not in my wildest dreams did I think they would both come from the Texans with the way they were playing, right? A pick six, and then we saw the Mixon touchdown with 4 minutes left, where he probably could have gone down and done that thing that screws up everybody's parlays. But thankfully, as somebody who had money on Mixon, he came through for us.
Yeah, and he cashed the over, which was helpful too. We got really close to hitting the Betty 4 yesterday, with three of 4. I don't even know what happened in that fight, Triz. Did you watch that fight?
Like knockout in the first minute, I think.
Yeah, it was like a knockout, really, really fast. I lost like juice yesterday. I might declare war on like
on the minus sign.
Might. Yeah, I really might. I might.
It sucks because the 2 other plays that you pitched on the show were plus monies and they banged easily.
Yeah, both. One was a 2-1 that banged easily.
I know.
Yeah, just as we're talking about UFC, the Dern fight where you had the under Triz, I was trying to be sharp, so I took Dern by KO, TKO, or DQ, and then I had to sit there and watch her submit her, and I was so mad.
Trizzy said yesterday that she thought she was going to sub her, so
I did. See, that's the part that I missed.
You got to watch the show, man. Pays to watch.
That's what happens when you go to just the card. You get screwed.
Yeah, for real, man. It's almost like you have my personal phone number or something.
It's almost like we text consistently and don't have to rely only on the shows.
How's the drive going? Right? I was gonna ask you then if I should do it, but I was like, he's driving. I shouldn't bug him and ask him his thoughts on the last fight of the night while he's driving 8 hours.
Yeah. I hope there isn't any law enforcement watching, but I have my phone right on the speedometer, and I was just like, watching the fight.
Elite. When I used to drive to Florida a lot a couple years ago, I used to watch football while I was driving because it's like a 12-hour drive. Very illegal, but wonderful driving.
Dude, I swear, once you get past New Jersey, it's just fucking straight. Like for like so long, bro. Like you can just kind of peek down and
you're listening. You're not like you're focused on the road, but you can catch the big plays. I got it.
Exactly.
All right, boys. Do we have anything else before we keep moving past this game? I guess let's just pick a winner. You guys think the Bills get the job done here and take care of business, or do the Broncos make things frisky?
I think I like the Broncos to cover, but I don't think that they win.
How wrong I was about the Chargers yesterday scares me about today completely.
No, I think the spread it's moved too much. In my opinion, it opened 10. So like I know it sounds like the Bills would be very public, like it's the Bills. This team's rolling. It's Josh Allen, but you're talking a spread that's moved almost 3 points now. What side do the books really need? And I think the Bills could roll today.
I did see a post that the Broncos are the most bet dog this weekend.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
I will say this. Can we I think I saw that post. It said 74% of bets are on the Broncos, right? But are we who's laying the juice at plus 500, plus 600 on the Bills,
Sure.
right? Like, of course, there's going to be more people that are enticed by the plus 400 or plus 360, depending on what you got. But at minus 410, that's why sometimes those numbers I feel like can be a little bit misleading,
100%.
It's not on the spread.
No, just the money line.
No. The money line. But how many parlays do you think consist of starting yesterday? Ravens money line, you've got Bills money line, and then most of them are going to end with Eagles money line in the next game because nobody's willing to take a risk on the Tampa Washington game. That's the one that everyone thinks is a coin flip.
In my opinion, the books don't move spreads for small money. For sure.
Definitely
especially 3 points. Maybe a half a point, maybe a point. You know what I mean? So I don't know. They don't. They're not going to move if it's just like the square public. You know what I mean? Hammering it, and putting it in parlays or X, Y, and Z. I don't think they'd move it that much. Real money is hitting that Broncos line, and I don't think that might not be the side the books are rooting for anymore.
All right, well, there's the thoughts of the first game of the day. I don't know what you guys want to do. We can maybe cook something up at the end, figure out kind of after we talk about all the games and decide what we want to take, if we want to do just some props or touchdowns or whatever. But we've already got our touchdown lay obviously rolling through.
4 games? We always do one play from each game?
Sure, we can take that and let it ride and hopefully get it to tomorrow. What do you guys like the most in this game before we move on to Savik and Splooge?
I like the Wait, in the Packers game, or we're still talking about Bills, right?
Bills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shakir. You had the Packers game up, confused me for a second, but I like the Shakir yards or receptions look. I think that's great.
I was just gonna say that. Should we do the receptions for plus money since we're only gonna have 4 plays?
Yeah, I like that. I really do like that.
Too.
I think that's gonna be a safety blanket today.
Yeah, I like that kid a lot.
Catches
everything.
He's good, man. Yeah, he really does.
And I feel like the wide receiver room in Buffalo, it allows you to not have Surtain just kind of shadowing one guy, right? Because Amari Cooper has the skill set and is more likely than to go off in any single game. And these are the games they brought him in for, right? Like playoff games, not regular season games. Then you've got a guy like Shakir who's quick and plays a lot out of the slot. And then Keon Coleman, a young, speedy rookie wide receiver.
Just a shout out to our dog NZ, who is chilling on the screen, just because he just banged a soccer bet. So congratulations, big dog. That's a great way to start the Sunday.
No wonder he came in here feeling horny for me. That's why.
Yeah, absolutely.
He never wants me unless he's not hitting bets. Never wants me.
Right. All right. So first leg of the parlay then will be Khalil Shakir. Is it 5.5 still? Let me just find this.
I believe so.
Fucking hell, man.
Yeah, 6 for plus money.
Nice.
Sweet.
All right, that'll get us rolling. Let's go on to the next one then. Take it away, B.
All right, we got the Green Bay Packers rolling into the city of brotherly love. Got a 5.5 point spread, over under set at 45.5. Jalen Hurts back from injury. Jordan Love healthy and looking all right. Boys, I'm not going to start us off. I want to know what you guys' thoughts are on this game before I say anything. And if I start crying because of anything you guys say, please just don't mind me.
I'll go first because mine is super quick. I actually was looking at this right before the show started. I was texting V and I said, yo, in the Eagles' few losses, they're giving up irregular amount of yards on the ground than they usually do. Do you think 101.5 is good for the Packers team total? And he said he liked it. As we were talking, it went up to 104.5. I still liked it. Then right as the show was starting, Trizzy texted me and said, yo, I think the Packers cover for his card. So then I went ahead and locked in Packers over 104.5 rushing yards with the spread +5 for +165. I think that's a good spot. If the Packers cover, they're going to have success on the ground. And Josh Jacobs can get you 105 rushing yards himself. Jordan Love can have 30 or 40. And it's the playoffs. Some random dude can add 20 to 30 himself as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So, just like everything we talked about this morning, this team is good, and this is the most that head coach Matt LaFleur has run with this Packers team ever in his career. I know he's had good running backs between Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon last year in the last couple of years, but Josh Jacobs is the prototypical running back that he has been looking for, and you can see it in their numbers. They're running on 51% of the plays, and they lead the league in first quarter rushing attempts, first quarter rushing yards, and it's just something that they have done game in and game out. And if they want to like put points up on this Eagles team, they're going to need to do that exact same thing this week. You saw it week 1 against the Eagles. Josh Jacobs had 84 yards on the ground alone, and they have 3 very capable running backs in the backfield that are more than capable of putting up yards in chunks.
I love the Packers in this spot, man. I love the Packers, and I like the over as well. I think the Packers are going to get up. I don't think they necessarily win outright, but I think Jalen Hurts might come out to a little bit of a slow start, and Jordan Love will not. I think the Packers might get up really quickly early, and then it's going to force the Eagles to fight their way back, and this game's going to end up sneaking over, in my opinion. I really like the 5.5. I think it was 6.5 at one point, and it dropped down a point. Maybe it's because of Hurts. Maybe it's not because of Hurts. I don't really care. This Packers team is very feisty. And the fact that Hurts sat out multiple weeks going into this game, I really lean Packers here. I've seen a lot of Eagles love this morning that we're not going to mention any names, but there's a couple shitty VIP cappers out there that just scam people. And I saw one that was a 100% play Eagles -5, and I saw another one that was 8-unit game of the year Eagles -5. So I can't tell you last time I saw one of those win, bro. That's like blind fade. That's almost like most profitable system in sports betting, like type shit, just fade whatever these guys tell you to put everything on, and I think this is one of those games. I think the Packers might get up early, and it's going to force the Eagles to fight their way back. I like the over, and I like the Packers to cover the 5.5 by the end. Maybe the Eagles win by a field goal, something like that.
Chat, this is a great reminder to you guys that if you ever see that on the timeline, just run away. You don't have to fade it necessarily because they do randomly win sometimes, but like any of that type of behavior in sports betting is just trash. So let's go, Kadar.
I love you, Kadar.
I know V doesn't feel the same way, but
I wanted to talk about this too.
Please go ahead, Triz.
Reed is very low to score a touchdown today, and that dude hasn't fucking sniffed the end zone in fucking weeks, bro. Weeks. He's like the lowest. He's the lowest receiver listed on the Packers, which, I mean, maybe it's a trap. Again, fuck it. Fool me once, fool me twice. I don't care. I'm going to keep betting this way. I make money like this. I think this is weird as fuck. I think Jaden Reed's probably going to find the end zone today.
Everybody's just trying to get V to feel really tasty, eh?
Honestly, Trizzy, I might show up in Virginia, man. Like, this is he's absolutely breaking up. A few of these plays, has to talk about them right here. I did write about this game. But Jaden Reed, I know that everybody's always looking at this Packers team like, what receiver do we pick this week? Is it going to be Dobbs? Is it going to be Reed? Is it going to be Wicks? Christian Watson, unfortunately, is done for the year. But this is a team that Jaden Reed is our number one receiver, right? His target share hasn't been there the last couple of weeks, but it's also been because the defenses we've been seeing have been pretty elite. We saw Minnesota last week or 2 weeks ago, Chicago week before that, and then the Lions the week before that, right? It's been a tough few games, but this is a game where he thrived in week 1. He had 100-plus yards. He scored a touchdown, and this is a team that struggles against good elite slot wide receivers, and that's exactly what this Eagles team is. Sorry, and then in that week 1 matchup between these two teams, the Packers led at halftime. The Packers were leading late in that third quarter until Jordan Love threw an interception on his own 24-yard line. He hasn't thrown an interception in almost, I think, 6 or 7 weeks. If he can keep his turnovers under control and this Packers team can put up points, I don't see a world in which they don't at least cover the 5.5. This number has come from 6.5, gone down all the way to 4.5 from what I've seen, and has been jumping back and forth. But there is one play I really want to talk about in this one. Trizzy, you talked about Reed, you talked about the Packers, but Brandon McManus, over 6.5 kicking points. I haven't pitched a kicking prop at all this season. I haven't even bet a kicking prop at any point this season. But this spot right here feels like a spot in which McManus is going to thrive. Multiple times this year, the Packers have lost by single digits. Of their 6 losses, 5 of them have been decided by a touchdown or less. Of those 5 losses, 4 of them have been decided by by 3 or less points. I just think that this is a spot where they cannot leave points on the board. Last 2 weeks ago against Minnesota, we lost by 2 points after leaving 3 points on the board by not going for a field goal early in that first half. Then again, in Minnesota, in week, I think it was 6 or 7, we left points on the board due to missed field goals. Our kicker went 0 for 2 in that game. Cost us 6 points. We lost by 2 points. This is a team that cannot leave points on the board, especially on the road in a place like Philadelphia. The fans are insane. The fans will have you going crazy. You need to silence them as early and as soon as possible. And I just don't think that the Packers, if they get within field goal range, they're going to leave points up on the board today after the amount of times that it's come back to burn them this year. So give me his over 6.5 kicking points at minus 120. It's a little bit juice. It's a little bit boring. But I really think that McManus is in a good spot to have a good game today.
Helps with points, too. Points. All right, you guys have talked a lot about all the Packers love. I'm going to flip it the other direction. And
SPJ can go. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's not a. I don't think the Eagles win or anything like that. But just to throw it out there, Saquon Barkley just had one of the best rushing seasons that we've seen in recent years. So let's not pretend like that he's not going to come in there and try to run down this Packers throat. I know that the Packers, both of these teams have very good rushing defenses, so could be a little bit of a struggle on the ground for both of these teams. But Saquon's line, my cap in this particular situation is very similar to what we saw from Derrick Henry yesterday. Derrick Henry's rushing yards line was 99.5. It's pretty high for a playoff game. He smacked it in the first half. Saquon Barkley's is 104.5. And we know that this team goes as Saquon goes. And I think that they're going to want to rely heavily on him today, especially with Jalen Hurts, like you mentioned, Triz, coming back from not playing football for 3 weeks. I really love his over 20.5 longest rush. I'm doing the exact same thing I did with Derrick Henry yesterday. So I'm not taking his yards because I think that it could be one of those situations where he maybe flirts with the 100, maybe he doesn't quite get there because of how good this Packers defense is. But as we know, like I mentioned yesterday with Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley's good for a 20-yard scamper, man. He's probably going to bust through at least one particular point. He hit this in both of the games, one of them being this season against this Packers team. He's hit it in the last 2 times he's played against the Packers. He's hit it in 6 of his last 7 games, over 20.5. Longest rush for Saquon. I also like him to score a touchdown. I know that's kind of chalky too. But you know that they're probably not going to want to push Jalen Hurts too much because of that concussion. The worst thing that could happen in this situation would be you get him in a push, he bangs his neck a little bit, and he gets another concussion, and he's out for the rest of the game. So I like him to score a touchdown. Additionally, if you look at what he's done over the last 6 weeks of the season, when he has scored a touchdown, he scored 2 touchdowns. So I think sprinkling his 2+ touchdowns, as chalky as that sounds, is a really good spot for plus 350. Also, last point on Saquon, he had 2+ rushing touchdown or 2+ touchdowns in both of the matchups with the Packers in the last 2 times that they played. The last time they played, he had 3 touchdowns, which I'm sure V remembers that as well. So I really like Saquon today. I don't really know which way this game is going to go. I lean with you guys on the Packers side of things, but I think that Saquon's going to be heavily involved. Love the 20.5. Like I said, cashed pretty easily with Henry yesterday. I'm doing the same logic again today with another bell cow back.
Just to, because we're talking about Saquon and the push and everything, I think I did find it interesting that Jalen Hurts' line has gone from about minus 140, minus 145 to score a touchdown to now plus 100. Trizzy, could you speak on that a little bit? What do you think about that line movement there? Because it was juice, the injury, the concussions. Is it because they're not going to push, or is this just value that maybe we shouldn't miss out on?
I would assume because like SPJ was just saying, they're not going to want to put him in harm's way. I think this team is primed to make a run. I know I was just saying I love the Packers to cover. I mean, I do think the Eagles are going to find a way to win this game, whether it be betting the Eagles to win by 1-5 or 1-4 would probably be a great bet in my opinion. But I think this team's primed to make a run, and they don't want to put Hurts in harm's way like that. It's probably why you're getting the movement on his touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree. And like, especially in a playoff game, you just know that the defensive players are coming with a little bit more of an edge. So, you know what I mean? Anything it takes to win the game, whether that's Hurts on the sidelines or whatever the fuck it is. It's a violent game. This isn't a sport where everybody's looking at everybody's health and things like that. It's a violent game. Let's not forget that.
Mm-hmm.
Sook? Did you have anything else in this one or just the rush yards?
Just the yards. I'm glad you guys think the Packers cover. I thought that too, but I don't know. I'm the type of person that doesn't like this Eagles team. So I'd actually be happy if the Eagles won and the Bucks won and we played the Eagles again from a rematch from last year.
Like, who,
this is an interesting point too.
Nobody.
You could see the old Dallas Goddard rush or stumble in there on the tush push versus Jalen Hurts situation. But I mean, we've seen it the last.
SPJ, did you want to talk about him? Because he just came back last week and he looked phenomenal.
I haven't labbed it at all. I'm just bringing up something that chat mentioned, and I like the logic based on what we saw yesterday with Mark Andrews, and kind of just talking about Jalen Hurts not being in that tush push. I leaned a little more with them giving the ball to Saquon in the red zone versus one of those tush pushy plays of putting somebody else. Because, in the playoffs, the last thing you want to do, you want to mitigate as much risk as possible, right? Like, so I feel like if you're going to get down there, you got Saquon Barkley out in the backfield who's running over people in the red zone. He's had 2+ touchdowns in 4 of his last 6 games. Don't overthink it sometimes, but if they do that, Goddard would be in a good spot. He can also catch a touchdown too. Like, he could just as a normal tight end. So I don't hate that value.
What the hell is this? Trizzy, what is this?
Plus
500 from Malik Willis to score a touchdown today. The backup QB.
What's Jordan Love?
But plus 500 for a backup, a guy who might not even see the field.
What's Jordan Love? You know what I mean? They might just like
plus 1,000.
That's weird. That is.
That could be a situation they get in the red zone.
Do you think
they throw Malik Willis in there?
Oh wait, Love. There's something going on with Love. Isn't Love fighting an injury or something?
Just an elbow. It was a nerve compression. He should be fine. They just didn't play him because they were worse than the swelling. That's it.
Maybe they're thinking, you know what I mean? Maybe they're thinking that it might be a little worse. He gets pulled, or they don't want to put him in harm's way. Possibly, or he does get hurt, and they know something. That is low though. That's
it wasn't his hand. It was in his elbow. He hit his elbow, but it caused like a little bit of ulnar deviation in his hand because of the way that the way the nerve travels. But it should be fine this week. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to bet the plus 500, but that's a weird line for a backup QB.
That is strange. You could see him just coming in there in a random play. Or maybe Love gets a little banged up and he has to come in and play, And then you're really...
It's half the price
the
is the
backup
starter.
QBs and like the wide receiver 3s who are actually going to be on the field have lower odds, like plus 900 for Emmanuel Wilson, who's actually scored in 3 straight weeks.
Yeah, that's wild.
Just
to throw out one more.
Absolutely. I think this guy's going to have not a big game, but over 6.5 receiving yards for a guy who is athletic as Musgrave is. They're going to be running a lot of 2 tight end sets this week just because of the Eagles front 7 and the fact that they do want to run the ball with Josh Jacobs. Last week, he had 19 yards. He hasn't played a whole lot this season, but at over 6.5 yards, that's the kind of play that hits on one catch. He's a guy that is athletic, that they love to use him deep. And if you watched him last season, this is a line that he crushed every single week with Tucker Kraft in the lineup. This is a team that likes to use 2 tight end sets. This is a team that drafted him pretty high as well in Musgrave. He's just been hurt this year. But at over 6.5 in a playoff game, this is the only guy they don't have tape on this year. I could definitely see LaFleur coming out and utilizing him in more than one way.
This line is so low. Like, you're going to be clenching your ass cheeks waiting for one catch, but this could cash in the first quarter.
He's literally had one catch multiple times this season, and that's why this is going to be the way that it is. But I don't know. It feels good to me.
One more thing on this one this also goes into the fact that I had to watch Derrick Henry yesterday run all over the Steelers. I had to watch Mike Vrabel come in and get hired by the Patriots today. So let's go for the trifecta of former Titans shitting on my hopes and dreams. AJ Brown's in a good spot today. He had a really good game against the Packers to start the season on the 6th of September. His receiving yards line is 79.5. I like that. His touchdown looks very enticing too. He is Jalen Hurts' number one target. He's going to get a lot of opportunities. I know the Packers' back end is pretty decent, but like it's A.J. Brown in a big game. I like A.J. in this spot. I don't know if I like his catches more or his receiving yards or his touchdown or kind of just – I don't know. I think I'm going to probably end up doing something with maybe laddering his yards purely off of what he did against them earlier this season. But I think AJ has an opportunity to further stick that poker up my ass even further based on what I've experienced over the last 12 hours.
Sure.
Just because so I don't sound fully like subjective, this is a good spot. The Packers secondary has been beat up. No Jair for the entire remainder of the season. You got guys like Keyshawn Nixon and Valentine playing on the outside who are both young and not guys that are really like that have played their entire careers, whether it be in college or whatever it is. I know Xavier McKinney has been really good, but this past defense for the Packers has been their one kryptonite. Now they haven't been as bad as other teams like the Ravens and the Vikings, but they have also not been that great. When it comes time to moving the ball, it's what cost us the game last week against the Bears. And I do think that with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and all the weapons you have on this Eagles team, that 80 yards for this guy is baby food, dare I say?
I feel like if you're going to take AJ, just ladder it. Like, because if he gets over the 80, he usually gets the 100 or 110.
He's numbered
and
with Hurts too.
Yeah, right? And he had 100 against the Packers in the beginning of the season. So, it's a good spot.
All right. What do we want to take from this one, though, boys, as our prop?
Man.
After everything we just talked about.
What do you guys think?
Packers?
Holy
cover?
God.
I ain't against it.
Pack.
What about the wait? Just because. What about the over?
Pack.
Pack.
Sorry, I'll stop.
I like Pack way more than the over.
Do SPJ.
I'm on them both for a unit, but
You hate Philly, SPJ.
I do. I hate the Eagles. I
Just get there with us.
All right, fine. Fine. Packers plus 4.5.
I'm so sad. Oh my God. I'm so sad.
I like the over too, though. I think there's going to be points in this game.
If we could stream this game on playback, you guys would see a different side of me. Like there's me when I watch football, and then there's me when I watch the NBA. Because there's always one more game with the NBA. With NFL, it's like do or die, man. It's like
I hate to bring it up again, but we saw how unhinged V is with the Packers in Chicago. Chat,
yes.
We were in a bar the first time we're all meeting, and without telling anyone, this guy walked across the street, not at a crosswalk, fully jaywalked, and went to a different bar by himself just because he saw the TVs from across the street and they were playing the Packers game. He didn't even tell anybody.
It was week one. I was excited.
We were all trying to, have a good time, drinking some shots and stuff like that. And we were like, where's V? And he had just stumbled across the street and just disappeared for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So
just to watch.
Be like, I went and got food, bro. I went and got food.
That cheddar.
Oh, man. All right. So you got the Pack plus 4.5. We've got, what was the first play in the first game? That was Shakir receptions over 5.5.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's keep it moving. We've got the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels and company, rolling into Tampa Bay to take on Baker Mayfield and these Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 3-point spread in this one, over under at 51.5. The Bucs are coming in kind of rolling. The Commanders also been really good over the last 5 games. Sook, why don't you start us off? Talk to us about your Lord and Savior, Baker Mayfield.
I'm a little stressed for this one. This one might be one that I just sit back. I have one play in this one. Before I get to that, there's a reason why the Commanders traded for Marshawn Lattimore. Him and Mike Evans motherfucking hate each other. They have a long history, and today I expect Marshawn to shadow Mike a lot. Both these dudes are coming off injuries in the second half of the season, but Mike has looked healthy. Marshawn, if he's near 100%, this is going to be an absolute fucking battle. That's why I like Jalen McMillan. I know he's getting a lot of love But we've saw in the first time when these guys played, Godwin had a very good game against the Commanders, and McMillan is kind of filling in Godwin's absence after he broke his ankle. I'm very stressed out about this game. The one play I only have in this game yet is Levante David for a sack plus 230. Defensive linemen have been getting at Jaden Daniels, sorry, and they've been sacking him. And Levante David doesn't have many more NFL games in him. He's a fucking absolute animal. So I like him to get a sack today against Daniels. Just one sack plus 230. I love betting sack props. They're fucking exhilarating when that quarterback is getting chased down and finally gets taken down. It's like a lion taking down a gazelle.
It is. It's a lot of fun, and it's one of the best parts of football. I feel like just watching a quarterback get sacked, unless you have a prop that needs passing. But it's a lot of fun.
And like just real quick, in the 13 games head-to-head Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore has played, Mike Evans is averaging 2.6 catches and 43.6 yards in those games. He has good history against the Commanders franchise, so he probably is going to fall somewhere in the middle there because Lattimore has aged a little bit and Mike can still get separation. He's still very fucking fast.
I sort of speak on that? In my opinion, I know Marshawn Lattimore, respect to him. He's had a fantastic career. He's done a great job of keeping Mike Evans in check. But to me, in my opinion, those days are long gone. I think Mike cooks this guy tonight in this matchup. Yes, Lattimore has been fantastic. I think he shadows him, but in the one game he played for the Commanders this year, he got beat deep for a touchdown. He had 3 offensive pass interferences, and he left the game with a hamstring issue early in that one. I just don't think that he is at 100% health today. I think he's coming out because they need him in this game, and that's what they traded for him for, right? It's this position right here, like you said. But this just feels like a spot where everybody had a lot to say about Mike Evans last week after he broke the record. Everybody had a lot to yap about saying he doesn't win games, this and that. This is a Super Bowl champ, Mike Evans. This is a guy who has been there, done that in the postseason with probably the greatest QB of all time in Tom Brady. Now he's getting a guy like Baker Mayfield that's playing with an edge, that is playing with some swagger, and that is feeding the ball to him again and again and again. Because of that, in the postseason, I like betting on guys that I know are going to show up in big games like this. And to me, that's Mike Evans, right? I know last week was a little bit of a struggle with the way that game kind of looked at the end. But again, he's struggled against the Saints in his entire career, whether that be because of Lattimore, scheming, or whatever it is. This Washington scheme is not one, I think, that thrives against opposing wide receivers, despite the numbers. It has more to do with how much they are on the field than it does with how much opposing teams are beating them deep. Give me Mike Evans in a playoff game over 74.5. And I don't take a lot of chalk, but the 2 chalk touchdowns I took today are Josh Jacobs and Mike Evans. I had to do it.
Let's go.
I mean, yeah. So, and we like in these situations, in these big games, there's nothing wrong. Like Derrick Henry was chalky yesterday, free as air. Like, sometimes you don't have to over. Yeah, 2 free. Just to say, we feel better. Mariella. Feel better, Mariella. Feel better.
I'll try to stop swearing too.
Respectfully, Ma Martinez, we love you, but this is a betting show and it's 21 plus, so we're gonna say fuck. I'm very sorry.
I'm from Boston. It's like every other it's every other word. I just did it without even realizing I was doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. I got 2 plays in this game that I like. Both of them. I like this game a lot. I think it's gonna be a great game. I think we all lean towards the Bucs side of things. But I'll let Triz talk about that. I know Shags also likes the Bucs too. Sook is on it from a fan perspective, but also in his staff piece. I have 2 plays. One of them is on each side. The first one is on the Commander side of things. I took Austin Eckler over 19.5 receiving yards, 20 plus for Eckler. As we've known with this Bucs team the entire season, they have been struggling defending the pass. They have also struggled defending running backs, catching the ball out of the backfield. Austin Eckler has hit this prop in 6 straight away games. I think there's just going to be lots of situations where Jaden Daniels is going to be trying to make things happen. They also like to design screens to him sometimes. He can maybe catch a little dump off and break a tackle. The linebacking core of the Buccaneers struggle with running backs coming out of the backfield catching the ball. So I really like the 19.5 for Austin Eckler over. I got minus 145. It as I kind of moved. I think it's 20.5. I like that too. I think it's a good ladder spot if you want to take it to 25 or 30. I think that he should have a couple good chances to catch the ball out of the backfield on some either design plays or some scrambles from Jaden Daniels. So that's my first one. And the second one is a little bit weird because Sook knows this, that Bucky Irving has totally strangleheld the running back position for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. However, Rachaad White's still there, and he ain't dead. And his lines are very enticing to me today. I took his rushing and receiving yards prop. It's 27.5. What a joke. This line, even with him playing limited snaps, could be free, especially with, like I talked about, both of these teams struggle with defending running backs out of the backfield catching the ball. I don't understand why this rushing and receiving yards line is where it's at. He's not going to get as many opportunities as Bucky Irving is, but the Commanders really struggle stopping the run, so maybe he busts out a couple runs, or he could just get this purely through the air. This line feels too low for me. I took the 27.5 rushing and receiving for Rachaad White.
I love it, SPJ, because OC Cohen talks about this, and the reason that they've had success is mentality in the backfield for Tampa Bay. It doesn't matter who's getting the touches. When Bucky emerged, Rachaad was not hanging his head, and now that Rachaad has had 2 bad fumbles late in games, I'm sure he's not hanging his head either. Rachaad has been a guy that's been a big part of this team for a number of years now. Just because Bucky's come out and shown how great and elusive he is at breaking tackles, I do think that Rachaad is still a versatile weapon who can catch the ball in the backfield for this team, and I think Rachaad has some redemption in him.
I think it's Bucky Irving's in a great spot. And again, the Commanders struggle stopping the run. So Irving's rushing yards is probably something that people will be tapping into, which I think is a good bet. But I like the lower value you're getting on a guy who's still going to get run in this game. And I think it's too low. If you want to just take the receiving too, that's also criminally low. And someone said it's also his birthday today. So maybe his touchdown at plus 290 could be interesting. So yeah, I like White today.
Do you guys think that maybe we're moving into a world where these 2 running back tandems are just more common and honestly working a little bit better? Because back in the day, it was always like, what running back is it going to be? But if you have 2 elite guys back there, we're now seeing it work better than it has in years past. Like, look at Detroit, right? Now look at Tampa Bay. And now every team doesn't have it, but even the Packers have a couple of guys that are elite. The Packers have been doing it for the last couple of years with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. I feel like this might be the move. Like, if you can have as many skilled position players that are at the top of their craft, why not? Right?
Yeah, exactly. And also shout out to the Bucks. They're one of the only teams to make the playoffs 5 straight years besides the Bills and the Chiefs. I think that this is a team that is winning games. And yeah, the Cowboys loss was bad. The Falcons OT loss early in the season was bad, but we beat the Manders to start the season. And I think we handle business again today. And I think that includes Rachaad White.
I think we've started moving towards this season with what we've seen talking about it the whole year, that the running back position has regained its value based upon all these teams playing cover 2. And so you got to have not a bell cow back, but you got to have running backs that are capable of running the ball 15 to 20 times a game. And if you're lucky enough to have 2 of them, your offense is going to be even more dominant. As Ma Martinez said in the chat, which kind of took the words out of my mouth, like Saquon's and Derrick Henry's don't grow on trees. So like not everybody gets the benefit of having a bell cow back like that can just run it 25 times and destroy a game. So some teams have to do it with a couple of complement backs. But however you want to chop and change it, like that position has reestablished itself as one of the most valuable in football. Look at all the teams that are in the that are in the playoffs right now. What do they all have in common? They all have either a bell cow back or a running back core that is dominant. And that's why their teams were successful this year. So I think we continue to see that. Like you mentioned, V, these lines are also indicative. There's nothing wrong with taking a situation where Irving and Rachaad White can have a good game. Also, both of the running backs from the Commanders can have good games too, based on the matchup. I mean, Brian Robinson Jr., we didn't talk about him. He's in a good spot too. Austin Eckler, like I was mentioning. So there's ways that there's all of it can happen, and still, both of these guys can feast as long as they don't hate each other. But
that's why I love the team total props, SPJ, because with the Bucks especially, I was doing this with the Panthers. The Panthers kept getting their team total rushing prop at like 96, 94.5. And Chuba can get you 100 himself. And then you add in Bryce Young. And like you're talking about all teams having 2 good running backs, you also need a quarterback that can give you 30 to 40 a night, or be a threat to give you 30 to 40. Otherwise, teams can just sit back.
Absolutely. Triz, you want to talk about this aside here?
Oh yeah, I love the Bucks here. I love the Bucks -3 here. I mean, we've seen what Baker's done all year. He has the playoff experience. He lost the wild. I remember him in that wild card game against the Chiefs. Played his nuts off. They just came up short. And I like him here against the rookie QB. They've overperformed, I would say. I don't think the league was really expecting them to make the playoffs this year in Daniel's first year. So I think getting there was a big step to begin with. And it might be a tight game. I really like the -3. It might fall on the number, but I'm comfortable with it I almost got an even line on it. I got -105. So I love the Bucks here. I think Baker, Mike Evans, everything that you guys are saying, I love it. I think they're going to roll today. I don't think Lattimore is the same Lattimore we've seen in years past. I love the point V brought up that I think he's just playing because this is what they brought him in for type thing. I don't think he's 100%. I think Mike might torch him today. I love the McMillan look because as Suk was saying, Godwin torched them the first time they played this year, and McMillan does look like he's kind of taken over that role. Sterling Shepard might also not be a bad look today. Other than that, though, I did notice Bucky Irving is up for 2 touchdowns on Prize Picks, and that's not a normal thing. Shout out Sick Money again. He brought that to my attention this morning. And if you go across across all the major domestic sports books, they're all hanging about +400, +380 for 2. I think that's very interesting. I don't hate the White looks either. As we've seen, those running backs are kind of plug and play. White might get him all the way down and Bucky vultures the touchdowns, but I do think it might be a little telling that Prize Picks is hanging 2 for the first time in a while.
Saquon for 2, Bucky for 2. See you later. See you in Cabo. Not a bad combo.
SPJ, you said Josh Jacobs wrong. You pronounced it Saquon Barkley. It's pronounced Josh Jacobs for 2.
I don't
Jingleheimer Schmidt. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm like this. I am who I am.
I know exactly why you're like this. You've been like this since we met, so I'm not surprised whatsoever. Did we all lean Bucks here? Do we all like the Bucks to cover? Do you like?
Yeah.
I know Sook does. Do you like it too, V?
Yeah,
Is this
I do.
panel
I
now?
do. I think the Commanders are fake good, and I think that they've been like putting up good points and things like that. But the defense isn't where it should be. This Bucks team has playoff pedigree, and they beat the Eagles last year. Now they're getting a home playoff It was a home playoff game last year as well. But now they're getting this game here at home against the Commanders team that is worse than Philadelphia last year. You know what they're saying in the locker room? They're saying we can beat this team. They're saying we should beat this team.
It's funny too because we were all the Bucks fans were Commander fans. We're hoping they won that last game, and now we're playing them. It's gonna be fun. I think that the -3 looks good. And as a fan, I might be jaded, but I love the Bucks today. I think they win this game. It might be tough for them to get that second win in the playoffs, but I think they get the first one here. Boys, real quick, because we'll move on after this, but how was Dan Quinn? Because I wasn't watching football when he was head coach of the Falcons. Is this something that is this a guy that wasn't a good head coach, or is this a guy that can kind of get one over on Todd Bowles today?
It's like he went to the Super Bowl, but he blew a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Okay, that was him.
So, yeah, he's
That
good.
was him.
He got the most out of Matt Ryan, but then the years following that never really got the same kind of effect, and he was replaced by Arthur Smith. So that just kind of tells you all you need to know, right? But he's good. He's been good with this team, and I don't know. Triz, do you have more thoughts?
No, Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator for the Seahawks on their run too, right? Back
And
in
he
the
was
day,
defensive
like the
coordinator for
Legion
the
of Boom.
Cowboys
Yeah,
last
right.
year.
The Cowboys,
I think he's a way better defensive coordinator than he is a head coach. I also don't know if he was the head coach for the Falcons in that year. Wasn't it Shanahan? Was Shanahan the offensive coordinator? I think that was before
he was the head coach.
he went to the
think,
49ers.
Yeah, I'm pretty. Dan Quinn was the head coach for the Falcons that year.
Okay, maybe it was Shanahan running the plays or something.
It might have been something
I
like
think he
that.
was a
But I
part
do
of that.
remember
Yeah.
Quinn.
Still, all-time choke job. You know what I mean? And a lot of coaches' decisions went into that choke job. So and the GOAT, obviously. But
Let's hope for more of the same today then.
I will say that what he's done with the Commanders, flipping that franchise in a one singular season, was pretty awesome, though. Like, let's give him his flowers. Like, no one expected we talked about it before the season, though. We all kind of thought the Commanders could be pesky, but I never thought they were going to make the playoffs.
Here's my thing, though. If Kingsbury isn't there, how successful are they?
Ooh.
That's my thing. And I don't think Kingsbury was his guy. I think Kingsbury was more so ownership, like taking, hey, here's this fancy toy. Here's this nice quarterback that you seem to do well with mobile quarterback. I don't really think that was Quinn's decision. So how much is this success on?
But you could also make
Kingsbury?
the same argument for Dan Campbell with Ben Johnson. Like, you got to have an offensive coordinator that leads, puts the right scheme together, and then the head coach's job is just to make sure that everybody's doing their jobs right. Rather than, I don't like it when head coaches are coordinators too. That's just a personal opinion. I think that differentiates their mindset on what they have to focus on too much. So, but I see your logic. I mean, Dan Campbell's been doing this for a couple seasons now, and obviously he's elite. But like,
I
think it can
completely
work out.
forgot to bring this up, boys, and I think this is a big point that we need to remember. Trizzy, you remind me because you just said his name. He is getting interviews for head coaching jobs again after what he's done with Daniels in Washington. But Baker Mayfield fucking hates Cliff Kingsbury. He would love to be up on this team today and make Kingsbury look bad and maybe kind of ruin all this head coaching hype he's getting again.
Why does he hate him?
He was the coach in college.
At Tech, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think because Baker went to Tech and then transferred to Oklahoma, I believe, right?
Yep.
And I think Kingsbury played a big part in the transfer.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we already liked Baker's squad today. Now we add extra. And the tinfoil hats found that one. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys want to just roll with the Bucks -3 then for the last play?
Is it a 3-leg play? It's a 3-leg parlay, right? All right. Never mind. I was going to say just put the money line.
4 legs because we're going to go to tomorrow?
We can do that.
We can do that.
Right, we're going to talk about this last game.
The money line for the Bucks is -164.
That's not bad.
Or we can take a prop with the multiple props we talked about, but I feel like we're all pretty in agreement that the Bucks are winning today.
We can change the name. We can change the name.
I mean, that's why I stick cheers for them, the Bakers.
All right. Let's preview. We'll talk more about tomorrow's game, so we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. But Trizzy won't be there, so we can talk about it. Or actually, I don't know if Sook and V will be there either, so we can spend some time talking about this game right now. Go ahead, V.
All right. We got the Minnesota Vikings rolling into Los Angeles. We got a 14-win team going on the road against a 10-win team in the postseason here. Over under side 48.5, 2.5 point spread towards the road team. Boys, what's going down in Los Angeles this week? I guess Arizona, right? They're playing it in Arizona. So what's going down in Arizona this week between the Vikings and the Rams? We got the Matt Stafford Bowl, according to V. If you ask me, this is the Matt Stafford versus Stafford.
You think points, Triz?
Yep. Points, shit ton, 100, ladder it, like
100.
I like that too.
For real, man, I really do. And I promise, like 75% of the Rams' points will be scored in the last 10 minutes of the game. I promise. And then it's just gonna go. It'll end up soaring over. It'll look like the Vikings are in firm control the entire fucking game, up 30 to something, and then Matt Stafford and his garbage time bullshit come back and somehow push this game over the total. I like this game going up to, I don't know, 60, 70 points probably.
So, Trizzy, do you lean with the Vikings then?
Yeah, I don't think this Rams team's not particularly good. They move the ball well in the 2-minute drill or when they're rushing, when they're hurrying. But if you try to see them actually methodically put a drive together, they stall out a lot. A lot of their best drives are made under duress, and I don't think that's gonna play out too well with this Vikings defense.
The line doesn't feel short to you?
It's playoffs.
Playoffs?
I love the over, like you mentioned. I'm gonna disagree with you though a little bit. I kind of like the Rams in this spot, man. I
Really?
think if I'm gonna pick, I don't think I'm gonna bet the plus 2.5. I like the over a lot better. But if I'm gonna take my pick between Sam Darnold versus Matthew Stafford, give me Matthew Stafford in that situation. I feel like that Matthew Stafford's going to make enough plays in this particular situation. And what have we talked about this Vikings team over the last 6 weeks of the season? What is their one major Achilles heel? They cannot stop the pass. They get torched on the back end. In comes one of the better, forgotten elite quarterbacks in the NFL with two stud wide receivers that are going to be really difficult to deal with for this Vikings secondary that is not very good. I don't know, man. I think Stafford could have a field day. His passing yards is 241.5. He hasn't sniffed that in 3 weeks. So I think his passing yards might be something I tap into tomorrow. But I agree with you, Triz. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. I do think both of these offenses are going to move the football. I feel like I want to trust Stafford, who's been there, done that, versus Sam Darnold, who we saw him last week against the Lions. What did he do in that game? Shit the bed. And maybe we see the same thing again in this game.
I mean, the Lions defense and Rams defense, like
True. But there was some situations where if you watched back on some of those, Matt Darnold just missed like wide open dudes in multiple situations.
And I would argue that the Rams defense has trended in the right direction over the last few weeks, whereas the Lions defense has been giving up more points, giving up more yards, and playing in games that have been much closer than I think that they would even like for themselves, right? Like they gave up just, 9 points to this Arizona team whose offense has looked good this year, just 9 points to the Jets, and then 6 points to a division rival in the San Francisco 49ers, who were very desperate for a win at that point in the season. I do think that, I don't know, I think it's experience. I think it's the fact that Darnold didn't look as good last week in a big game that was going to decide the division. And I do think that Matt Stafford with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, it's a situation that we haven't seen a lot of this year. Cooper Kupp has also been beat up last 3 weeks. You see it. The Rams have not only prevented other teams from putting up points, but they haven't put up points themselves. 12 against the Niners, 19 against this Jets team, and just 13 against this Arizona team. That shit is not going to cut it if you are going to be going up against this high-powered Minnesota Vikings offense. I understand that even if he doesn't play well, Addison is a deep ball threat. Justin Jefferson is a deep ball threat. Then you have guys like Hawkinson who haven't even popped off yet this year. And then Aaron Jones out of the backfield and Ty Chandler, who has been playing fantastic. I think it's Ty Chandler out of the backfield for this Vikings team as well. They're going to have to put up points. And Cooper Kupp at plus 170 in a playoff game, I don't know why I want to take this so much, but the Vikings' pass defense has been lackluster, especially against the wide receiving position in terms of yards and touchdowns this year. We know that they blitz a lot, and a guy like Cooper Kupp, who's going to see some quick, easy routes over the middle because of his route running, could be a great target for Stafford, a guy who is seeing a lot of exotic blitz packages in this one. What do you boys think?
I like it. I
agree with you, buddy.
Mm-hmm. I think we all can agree that I feel like we're all in seeing this the same way as the over. And I was going to mention that Flechuga. I like Nacua as well. I think I'm probably going to end up just taking Stafford's passing yards tomorrow. I'm not going to take this yet, but just both the guys I feel like are in good spots to take advantage of this Viking secondary. And they're in a dome too, which helps because the Rams usually play in a dome situation or the sunny LA, so there's no weather situation we're dealing with here. I think that Nacua and Kupp can both have good days here. Whether that ends up meaning the Rams win this game or not, I have no idea, but I do think that there's going to be the football slinging all over the place.
Should we just take the over and call it a day?
I think so.
Yeah.
We'll sweat 4 nights over the last leg, hopefully. Let's get there.
Nothing wrong with nothing wrong with an over to finish this off, right? No unders in here, though.
What the hell is an under?
I know, right? Over 47.5. Hey, that gets that parlay to plus 11-16. That's not bad.
Denny's
Robert Page. He was open last night, baby. Denny's he just barely got over the line, but thank God Denny was open last night. Yeah, plus 4 legs, plus 11-16. That gets the job done. Shakir, 6 catches. Green Bay to cover 4.5. The Buccaneers just to win. And then the over 47.5 for Monday Night Football. Nice.
Beautiful.
Happy Pappy.
Happy Pappy. Let's go.
And then a TD late, boys.
Okay, So if we're gonna do that, then let's. Obviously, we're not gonna pick any guys that we already have in our other lay, which is McMillan, Shakir, and Josh Jacobs. That's what we have for the 3 of the 4 that we already have. So Henry already got the job done there. If you wrote it out with us, yeah. All right, we're getting there. Show us your TDs, chat. Show us your TDs. Okay. How do we want to do this? Should we all just pick one that we like?
Yeah, give me Cortland Sutton.
Mike.
Bucky.
Mike? Yes. I was when you didn't say Mike for the first TD lay we cooked, I was like, this coward. And Lad scored, like you said. And
shout out Lad. All right, so Bucky, Mike.
Yep.
The two chalky Bucks scorers.
We can do Jaden Reed too. I really like Jaden Reed. Depends how juicy you want to do it.
It's your pick, Triz. What do you want to do?
I like Bucky.
All wide receivers cooked last week.
Okay, so we've got Bucky, we've got Mike, V. Who did you say? Sutton, right?
Portland. Yep.
Do you guys want to just go chalky and take Saquon, or do you guys like AJ Brown better? V likes neither.
Barkley.
Yeah, it could just be a running backs weekend. I like that. We saw
I'm
Henry go off yesterday.
And just because, too, I think Barkley's in a solid spot. Like, Jalen Hurts hasn't played in 3 weeks almost, right? 4 weeks. There might be a little bit of rust. I don't want to be sitting here bitching about Jalen. Actually, honestly, if he tush pushes, I'm going to bitch anyway. So either way, I'm bitching about Jalen Hurts. But let's take Saquon.
We'll be bitching when Saquon scores, too. But whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so we got Barkley, Sutton, Evans, and Irving. That 4-leg parlay gets you plus 1251 for those 4 guys to score. And those are all different guys, so we can either bitch about the other lay not getting close, but this one may be getting close, or this one not getting close and the other lay getting close, or there's just 0 touchdowns and we're bitching anyway. But
repeat it. It's Bucky, not Reed.
Yeah, Bucky.
Yeah, Bucky.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bucky, Mike, Cortland, Sutton, and then Saquon.
Got it.
That's plus 1251. Obviously, we talked about a lot of other ones, chat. If you guys want to take something different, you don't have to ride this out with us, but this is what we cooked up. I also have a boost that I'm going to use, so might as well. Okay, boys. I'll read it one more time for you guys listening in. A lot of you guys like me to repeat it 6 times, so I'll repeat it one more time. Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, both of those are in the late game, and then Cortland Sutton for the Broncos, and then Saquon Barkley for the Eagles to score tutties. Show me your TDs today, baby. All running back scoring this weekend. Yeah, I don't hate that either. All right, boys. We made it. I love how we said that the show was not going to be super long, and here we are, still up against it. We got 30 minutes. A little better than what we're normally dealing with, literally turning this off and directly watching football. So, is V frozen? Oh, no, he's not. He was just very still.
Entering his parlays.
Lock-in bets.
Yeah, he's been locked in all stream. I know what you did. He's been locking in all stream. He's locking in parlays right now. Hope you guys are too. Thanks for tuning in right here on the channel. Go follow all these amigos on the screen. Go follow V. Go follow Trizzy. Go follow Jess Sook, and go follow myself if you're not already. Go follow all of us at Your Betting News. Come and hang out with us every single day right here on Twitch or on YouTube. We do this every day. If you guys enjoyed the show today, if this is your first time tapping in, come and kick it with us again tomorrow. We'll be live tomorrow at afternoon Espresso, 5:30 Eastern, to talk about the weekend that was, everything that we talked about today, and then to preview Monday Night Football and give you guys the vibes out there today. We will have some NBA plays later on the timeline. Nice NBA slate today, boys. I'm sure you guys have been looking at it. We'll be cooking up some NBA parlays and stuff like that on the timeline, so be sure to follow us and get involved. Go to bettingnews.com, as always, for free sports betting information every single day. Hey, thanks, Pips, for breakfast. Go check out our website. It's free. Get involved. Lots of really great information on there for you guys as well. And it's thanks to our sponsors at BetOnline today as well. If you want to bet everything we talked about, go click that QR code in the top corner of the screen. Boys, anything else?
Go Baker. Go Tampa Bay Bakers.
Go Bakers, go Packers, and Broncos cover.
Yes, sir. Let's cash some tickets today. Join the Discord, too. Free Discord.
Oh yeah, get involved with our free
shit in there.
Get involved with our free Discord. You can send us a DM, or you can go to bettingnews.com and click on these. It's a banner on the main home screen. You can't miss it. You can get involved for free. People drop winners in there. We will kick you out though if you bring some bullshit. So don't bring some bullshit. Only the good vibes in there.
It's free, but zero tolerance.
I keep a firm gavel. You post some bullshit 2 minutes later, I'm right there.
I tell you right now, it's fully power hungry. Don't mess with him.
It says in the rules that this is a one strike, get the fuck out policy if you break the rules. So no messing around, but it's fun. It's all good vibes in there, man. So go get involved. There's lots of great people in our chat and also dropping bangers all the time. So we appreciate it is the Wild West for sure. You guys came for the winners. You stayed for the vibes. Have a fantastic Sunday. Enjoy the games today. Cash some tickets. Bet responsibly. And we'll catch you on the next one. Boys, let's hit some fucking bets today. We appreciate you guys. Have a fantastic Sunday. Peace.
What you know about rolling down in the deep? Down in the deep. Now I know y'all be loving this shit right here. Rolling. What you gonna do? Rolling. What you gonna do? Down in the rolling. What you gonna do? Right, y'all be loving this shit. What you know about